Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Rich Dad, Poor Dad Deep Dive series. We have reached Chapter 7, Overcoming Obstacles. Robert Kiyosaki discusses the 5 main obstacles that stop most people from becoming rich, even when they know what to do, and we will talk about those obstacles and how to beat them. Let's begin. First idea. The biggest obstacle is fear, especially the fear of losing money. Learn to control it. Robert Kiyosaki identifies fear as the single greatest obstacle that prevents most people from building wealth. More than lack of money, lack of education, or lack of opportunities, it is fear. The fear of losing money, for example, is what keeps millions stuck in the rat race their entire lives. Kiyosaki explains that fear shows up in many forms. Fear of losing money, fear of failing, fear of looking dumb in front of others, fear of criticism, and even fear of stepping outside the safe path everyone else follows. Almost everyone experiences these fears, including both his rich dad and poor dad. The difference was how they responded to it. Poor dad let fear control his decisions. He chose the safe route, a stable government job, academic achievements, and avoiding financial risks, which ultimately limited his financial growth. Rich Dad, on the other hand, acknowledged his fears, but learned to use them for action and learning. One of Kiyosaki's most important teachings is that losing money is an inevitable part of the process of becoming rich. The rich don't avoid losses. They accept them as part of their financial education. Every loss, mistake, or failed investment becomes an expensive but incredibly valuable lesson that makes them smarter and stronger. However, the poor and middle class treat any loss as a catastrophe to be avoided at all costs. They keep their money in safe savings accounts, avoid investments, and never learn how money really works. Kiyosaki stresses that winners are not afraid of losing. They understand that the more you play the game, the better you become. Professional athletes, top entrepreneurs, and great investors take calculated risks, fail many times, learn from each failure, and keep moving forward. Avoiding risk entirely is the biggest risk of all. When you refuse to take any financial risks, you never develop the skills, confidence, or experience needed to grow your asset column. You stay financially fragile and dependent on a paycheck. Rich Dad taught Robert early on to face his fears directly. Instead of running away from the possibility of losing money, he encouraged him to start small, learn, and treat every experience, good or bad, as training. The more Robert practiced, the less fear controlled him. His confidence grew, his skills improved, and his ability to create and manage wealth expanded. The message is that fear is normal, but letting it control your financial life is what keeps you stuck. The people who achieve financial freedom are not fearless. They have simply learned how to manage their fears. They understand that the path to wealth requires action, education, and the willingness to lose some battles along the way in order to win the war. By beating the fear of losing money, you free yourself to start building assets, making investments, and creating the financial future you truly want. Second idea, cynicism and doubt kill more dreams than failure ever will. Robert Kiyosaki warns that cynicism and excessive doubt are among the most dangerous obstacles on the path to wealth. While many people believe that failure is what kills more dreams, Kiyosaki argues that cynicism actually destroys far more potential than any setback or mistake ever could. Cynicism often appears in the form of seemingly intelligent and realistic comments. That won't work. It's too risky. The system is rigged, or you should just play it safe and get a stable job. On the surface, cynics sound smart and protective. However, this negative mindset quietly stops action, kills opportunities, and keeps people stuck in mediocrity for years. Instead of moving forward, they remain paralyzed by overthinking and constant negativity. Rich Dad taught Robert that cynics usually criticize winners because they are secretly jealous or afraid. Deep down, their criticism comes from their own unresolved fears and feelings of inadequacy. Rather than taking responsibility to improve their own situation, they tear down those who are trying to build something better. In contrast, truly rich and successful people maintain an optimistic outlook. They focus on solutions instead of problems and look for opportunities where others only see obstacles. This obstacle is especially dangerous because it often disguises itself as intelligence or realism. Many people proudly call themselves realists when they are actually just scared. Every time you have doubts or cynicism in your mind, Kiyosaki advises recognizing it for what it really is: fear in disguise. The rich train themselves to stay excited about possibilities. They ask empowering questions like, "How can this work?" instead of, "What if it fails?" Protect your mind from cynicism. Surround yourself with people who support growth and possibility. When doubt comes, acknowledge it, but don't let it control you. Choose excitement over skepticism. Choose learning over criticism. In the long run, the ability to stay optimistic and take action even when others are doubting is what separates those who build wealth from those who only dream about it. Professional athletes, top entrepreneurs, and great investors take calculated risks, fail many times, learn from each failure, and keep moving forward. Avoiding risk entirely is the biggest risk of all. When you refuse to take any financial risks, you never develop the skills, confidence, or experience needed to grow your asset column. You stay financially fragile and dependent on a paycheck. Third idea: laziness is often hidden behind busyness. Real action beats being too busy. Robert Kiyosaki makes a sharp and uncomfortable observation. Many people aren't truly lazy, they're just busy doing the wrong things. They fill their days with work, chores, errands, social media, television, and endless distractions, all while convincing themselves they don't have time to build wealth. This hidden form of laziness is one of the most common reasons people stay stuck financially. Rich Dad taught Robert that the lazy mind is very good at creating excuses. It says things like, "I'm too busy," "I'll start when things calm down," "I don't have time right now," or "I'm too tired after work." On the surface, these people appear productive and responsible. They go to work, pay their bills, and stay active. But in reality, they are avoiding the high-value activities that actually build long-term wealth, such as learning about money, investing in assets, developing new skills, or starting a side business. People feel busy and tired, which makes them believe they're already doing enough. Meanwhile, their asset column remains empty, and their financial situation barely improves year after year. Kiyosaki points out that true laziness isn't about sitting on the couch all day. It's avoiding personal growth, financial education, and the uncomfortable actions required to become rich. In contrast, rich people stay focused on high-value activities. They prioritize actions that build assets, create passive income, and increase their financial intelligence. They are willing to say no to tasks with low value and distractions so they can invest their time and energy where it truly matters. Rich Dad emphasized the importance of discipline and focus, choosing to do what is important rather than what feels urgent or comfortable in the moment. Kiyosaki encourages readers to honestly examine how they spend their time. Are you truly too busy, or are you hiding behind busyness to avoid doing the hard but rewarding work of building wealth? The difference between the rich and everyone else often comes down to this. The rich make time for what matters most, while others stay trapped in the cycle of being too busy to change their financial future. The powerful message here is simple but transformative. Stop using busyness as an excuse. Real progress comes from taking deliberate, focused action on the things that build assets and increase your financial knowledge. True laziness is not a lack of activity, it's the refusal to do what is necessary to grow. Fourth idea. Bad habits are the silent wealth killers, especially poor money management. Robert Kiyosaki explains that our habits control our financial destiny far more than most people realize. While many blame low salaries, bad luck, or the economy for their financial struggles, the real culprit is often a set of quiet, destructive habits that slowly erode wealth potential over time. Bad habits act as silent killers. Living above your means, constantly buying liabilities like cars, houses, or luxury items, paying yourself last, or not at all, avoiding financial education, and mindlessly spending on small daily pleasures all add up. These behaviors feel harmless in the moment, but they prevent money from accumulating and working for you. Kiyosaki stresses that the middle class is particularly vulnerable to these habits. They earn more than the poor, but spend it all on a lifestyle they can't truly afford, leaving little or nothing to invest in assets. Rich Dad, in contrast, taught the importance of developing strong financial habits from an early age. The most important ones include paying yourself first by setting aside money for investments before paying bills or expenses, controlling the amount of money you spend, continuously investing in financial education, and focusing on acquiring assets that generate income instead of liabilities that drain it. What makes these habits so powerful is that they compound. Small daily choices, what you buy, what you read, how you manage your cash flow, and how you use your time, determine whether you end up rich or broke. A person who consistently saves and invests some of their income will eventually build significant wealth, while someone who earns the same amount but spends it all will stay stuck, no matter how hard they work. Kiyosaki acknowledges that changing bad habits is difficult. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and the willingness to delay gratification. However, he emphasizes that it is one of the most important things you can do. Once you replace bad money habits with good ones, your financial life begins to improve almost automatically. The money you once wasted starts working for you, and the gap between your income and expenses widens in your favor. Your future wealth is not mainly decided by how much you earn, but by how you manage what you earn. Master your habits, especially around money, and you take control of your financial destiny. Bad habits may feel comfortable today, but they will cost you dearly tomorrow. Good habits may feel uncomfortable at first, but they quietly build the rich life you want. Fifth idea. Arrogance. Thinking you already know enough is one of the most expensive obstacles. Robert Kiyosaki identifies arrogance as one of the most expensive and deceptive obstacles to building wealth. Arrogance is the quiet but destructive belief that you already know enough, that your school education, current job experience, or existing opinions about money are more than enough. This mindset is particularly dangerous because the moment you stop learning and growing, your financial intelligence stops expanding, and your wealth potential drops. Many people fall into this trap without ever realizing it. They proudly say, "I already know that. I don't need any more advice," or "those investment ideas won't work for someone like me." They ignore books, mentors, courses, seminars, or even conversations with successful people, convinced that their current knowledge is complete. Kiyosaki warns that this intellectual arrogance is extremely expensive. It closes your mind to new opportunities, prevents you from learning critical lessons, and keeps you stuck at your current level of financial success. Rich Dad constantly reminded Robert that the world of money is constantly evolving. New opportunities, technologies, markets, and risks emerge all the time. The truly rich stay humble and curious. They seek knowledge continuously, learn from both their successes and failures, study other successful investors and entrepreneurs, and remain open to ideas that challenge their existing beliefs. In contrast, arrogant individuals become defensive and rigid. They protect their ego rather than expand their mind, which severely limits their ability to grow their asset column and create meaningful wealth. Kiyosaki's message in this chapter is powerful and important. Everyone faces the same 5 major obstacles to wealth: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. The difference between the rich and the poor or middle class is not whether they face these obstacles, but how they respond to them. The rich acknowledge these internal barriers honestly, face them directly, and use the struggle as fuel to become stronger, wiser, and more financially intelligent. Overcoming these obstacles is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong process of self-improvement. Each time you push through fear, reject cynicism, stop hiding behind busyness, correct a bad habit, or humble yourself to learn something new, you level up your financial intelligence. Every victory makes future challenges easier to handle and brings you closer to financial freedom. The rich understand that humility is actually a massive competitive advantage in the game of money. Staying humble, curious, and open-minded allows them to adapt and capitalize on opportunities that arrogant people completely miss. Arrogance may feel good and protect your ego in the short term, but it quietly blocks progress and keeps you trapped. True and lasting wealth comes from the consistent willingness to keep learning, growing, and improving, no matter how much you already know or how successful you become. And these were the 5 ideas that are seen in the 6th chapter of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and in the next video, we'll talk about some ideas that we learned throughout Chapter 8, Getting Started, where Kiyosaki talks about turning financial education into real action, and more. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.